Okay, we recently put up the squirrel hunting and cleaning and dressing video, and we've had a lot of requests for what you do with the squirrel meat. Squirrel is very abundant, you know, even in urban areas and cities you can find squirrel anywhere. You can shoot, you can trap, you know, they're not hard to catch. There's actually quite a bit you can do with squirrel meat. You can make, we use wild game in our gumbos a lot. You can make a squirrel gumbo or just a wild game gumbo, which would probably have like squirrel or duck or just different things in it. I'm not going to do that. I'll show you how to make a regular gumbo on another video, and then you can use the recipe and just substitute the meat for a squirrel or any wild game that you want, or chicken or anything like that. The most common way, of course you can bake or fry or anything like that, but the most common way that we eat squirrel is just in a gravy. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I've got 3 squirrels right here. This is only 3 squirrels, and I got a bunch of guys coming tonight. They're going to come and eat, so we're going to make us a big pot of squirrel racing gravy, and I'm going to add a little game sausage to it. Deer sausage is good in it, while pork sausage, if you can't get any game sausage, you can use just pork sausage. You don't have to. Squirrel makes a really, really, really good gravy all on its own. But for today, I'm going to add a little game sausage to it. So what I want to do is just get my pot hot with a little bit of oil at the bottom and start to kind of brown this meat down a bit. I'm not going to put my sausage in right away because I want to brown this squirrel for a while, and it's going to take a bit longer to brown than the sausage will. So first thing I'm going to do is simply put some oil in my pot, put the heat on, let it start to warm up a little bit, and put the squirrel in the pot, and then I'm going to season it with some salt, pepper, Tony's or seasonal if you can't get Tony's, garlic powder, black pepper, cayenne, anything you like. I always use sea salt, black pepper, Tony's, and garlic powder, and then anything you want to add on top of that is great. Okay, so I'm just taking my meat, turn my heat down a little bit. Got a little water on it, so it's flushing a bit. It'll calm down real quick. Salt on meat. Black pepper. Tony's and seasonal. Just like some garlic on that. A little bit of cayenne. Maybe some hot peppers. Now, squirrel it's a little bit of a tough meat, and you know, depending on the kind of squirrel that you have. So you want to cook it a little bit, you know, put some length on that, cook it for a while. So I'm going to fry it for, you know, longer than you would typically your normal meats, and then I'm going to add quite a bit of water so that it can cook down and just give it a lot of time for that squirrel to really just tender up some. Some people will marinate to get that gaminess out of it. You don't usually need to if you clean the blood out of it good enough. You know, depending on where you killed it, unless you killed it really close to a river, then it should be fine. But if you want, you can marinate it overnight in a cooking wine or a brine in the fridge, but you really don't need to. Squirrel makes a really, really nice gravy, and a little bit goes a long way. I mean, you look at it and you think there's probably not a lot of meat on there, but I'm using 3 squirrels and I'm going to feed a house full. So a little bit really does go a long way. I'm going to show you now in the pot. See, my seasoned meat, it's in the grease. You want to stir it, make sure that it gets browned on all sides. And I'm going to let this go for a little while. Now in the meantime, while the meat is beginning to fry, I'm going to go ahead and cut up my sausage and prepare my seasonings. Like I said, you can use any sausage. You don't even have to use the sausage at all. I'm telling you, it will be amazing even without the sausage. But since I have a lot of people coming, and I really like the sausage, I'm going to go ahead and put sausage. But any wild game sausage is good, or even pork sausage. And just a little tip, all meats are so much easier to cut and handle if it's just slightly frozen. See, like this part here is completely thawed, it's going to be smushy. When I make my beef jerky, if you make beef jerky by hand without a slicer and you cut it with a knife, make sure that it's just a little bit frozen. It really helps you to be able to cut it a lot thinner. It's firm. I'll take my sausage, and I'm also going to prepare a whole onion. When you're dealing with game, it's good to use a lot of seasonings because it'll cover any of that wild taste that you don't want it to be too strong. We always, well, pretty much usually always use sweet Vidalias. Cut this onion up by hand, but since I'm not trying to be all professional and look like I do everything from scratch, I do a lot from scratch, but I really do love this little thing for cutting onions. Makes it easy. So this is what I do in my kitchen. So this is what you're going to see. And a lot of times what I'll do when I buy onions or bell peppers, I'll go ahead and cut the whole bag up, however much I have, like this, put it in a Ziploc bag, throw it in the freezer. When I'm cooking, just go break a chunk off and throw it in the pot. Good example of that, bag of bell pepper. Already cut, froze. Break a chunk off and put it in with my seasoning. Green onion is good in this. Any spices that you like, but always, always, always we use a lot of onion, Vidalia usually, bell pepper, and garlic. banana peppers are good too. Okay, now as you can see, the meat is starting to get a nice color to it. I'm gonna go ahead and add my sausage and let that cook for just a little while. I don't want the sausage to cook very long, maybe a few minutes, and then I'm going to add my seasonings after that. The seasonings are going to cool it down a bit, so I wanted to make sure my meat was well done. I'm not going to stir it a whole lot because I don't want my sausage to start to fall apart until it gets some heat on it. Once it gets some heat on it, it'll start to solidify a little bit better. I'm going to let that go for just a few minutes. Okay, the sausage has been cooking for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, not very long at all. And so now I'm going to go ahead and add my seasoning. And a lot of times, usually when I add my seasonings, I like to go ahead and add a couple of spices again. The same spices as earlier. I just keep adding the same spices. I want to let this go for a little while to wilt those onions. I want to make sure they're good and melted and everything is all blended together. But I got to keep an eye on it to make sure that nothing burns. And I'm going to go with this for probably about 5-10 minutes. Alright, my onions are sauteed enough. Everything looks good, smells great. I want to scrape the bottom and make sure nothing is sticking. Get everything kind of turned. And now I'm going to add water. I want to add enough water to cover my meat and then a little bit more because like I said earlier, squirrel is, as with a lot of game, it's a little bit tough, so I want it to be able to cook for quite a while, and I don't want to have to constantly keep adding water to it. So I'm going to go ahead and add my water. I guess I ended up putting about 6 cups of water. I'll probably have to add a little bit more later, but for right now that's good. And I just want to stir it and kind of make sure that everything is off the bottom so nothing burns. And then I'm going to let this cook down for a while. At least 30 minutes, probably longer than that. Just let it go. And it's pretty much done, as you can see. A little bit goes a long way. Yeah, it's really good. And it's done. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off for right now and get the rest of the stuff ready. I've got company coming later, and I'm going to go ahead and I think fry up some okra to go on the side with this because these squirrels were killed this morning, never been frozen, very fresh. The okra was harvested this morning. It's never been frozen fresh, so I'm gonna fry up some okra, make a couple of sides, see how everybody likes it a little bit.
Table about that big with a little wire mesh top on it. You made me a little table out of it. I cook all this stuff on it on the fire. It's gonna be a big fire. I put it on top.
Squirrel, Cajun style.
Sauce bon.
Sauce bon.